what would I want to have? I'd want to have a combination of gold, crypto, and my guess is that I think all the ingredients are in place for some kind of a blow-off. Will it happen? Again, history rhymes a lot, so I would think some version of it is going to happen again.
Right.
If anything now is so much more potentially explosive than 1999. 1999, we were looking at a rate hike in November. Now we're looking at a rate cut. We were looking at 4 more rate hikes before we actually topped in 2000. Now we're looking at 3 or 4 rate cuts, probably at least. So you have monetary policy that's going to take us to real rates of 0 or less, probably, depending upon the next Fed chair. And then the big difference is, obviously, fiscal policy. We had a budget surplus in 99, 2000. Now we've got a 6% budget deficit. So that combination, that fiscal monetary combination, is a brew that we haven't seen.
The billionaires are saying to buy. Michael Saylor is saying to buy now. Crypto leverage is at an all-time high. Crypto loans jumping 35% in Q3 of 2025, setting a new record at $73 billion, breaking the last record, which was set in Q4 of 2021 at the peak of the bull market. JP Morgan's allowing people to borrow against their Bitcoin. CZ's pardoned by Trump. Crypto market structure bill, Clarity Act, look to be voted on before the end of this month. Hong Kong has approved their first Solana ETF. Major institutions are buying up, yet at the same time, the prices are going down. Well, maybe this will help. ISO 222 goes into effect in about 14 days on the 22nd of this month. This is the global banking system required to upgrade their messaging standards and coins that could play a massive role in the future of banking. XRP right there at the front. 21 Shares has just filed an XRP ETF with the SEC. That means that they've got less than 21 days to respond, and you've got less than 21 seconds to comment 777 down below. If you're feeling bullish, you're feeling blessed. They got a lot of crypto breaking news. We're going to cover the state of the economy, what's holding back retail investors from flooding into crypto, other breaking epic crypto news, and what you can do to potentially take these portfolios to the next level. Let's run into the video.
Do you love crypto, but are you worried about taxes shrinking your retirement nest egg? Here's the deal. Trading and selling crypto can trigger capital gains taxes, eating into your wealth. A crypto IRA fixes that. Per IRS publication 590B, traditional IRA gains like those from crypto aren't taxed until distributed. That's why we've partnered with iTrust Capital, a leading crypto IRA company in the USA, to sponsor today's video. And they offer institutional grade custody for retail clients that want to set up their crypto IRAs for retirement, leveraging top storage solutions like Fidelity, Wells Fargo, and Coinbase Prime to keep your assets secure. To get started, simply click the link in the description of this video, sign up for free, and fund your account with cash. They also offer 401k rollovers or crypto transfers, and you can trade 24/7 with just 1% transaction fees and no maintenance costs. As always, I'm not a CPA or financial advisor, so consult one for tax advice, and we do earn a commission if you sign up using our link below to fund your crypto IRA account, but that helps support value-based videos like this. And iTrust Capital already has over 200,000 crypto IRA accounts and over $14 billion in transactions, proving they're trusted by smart investors just like you. So click the link below, get started now by funding your account today, and let's create generational wealth together.
What's up, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel again. JR, your favorite crypto dad, coming to you from the 90s Crypto Lounge. And this 21 Shares XRP ETF is just the first of many expected to see potential approval by the end of the month. Obviously, we've got a government shutdown that's impacting that. But a White House official is saying that the crypto market could hit $20 trillion market cap when this structure bill passes. It looks like there's a huge rally coming. Obviously, this is not financial advice. Don't buy the news, sell the rumors, and don't buy anything because I'm talking about it. But it begs the question, with all of this bullish news and catalysts in place, why is the price not going up, let alone going down? And there are some things that we can point out to answer this question. First off, it's simple saturation in the market. Crypto God John saying, take me back to a time when there was only 1,000 coins in the market, not 26 million coins. This became a big talking point at the end of the bull run 2021. Everybody was launching coins. And this was even before the pump fund days where it was so much easier to do that. And it's been launch after launch. They run up really quick, they dump really quick, investor sentiment goes through the floor, a lot of trust issues, right? It's not to say that there aren't honest plays in crypto, but it's really hard to find them when there's so many scams and, pump and dumps running around, right? On the other side of the coin is the US economy. And while the statistics will say that the inflation is only up about 2.7 or 3%, something like that, the discussion around the dinner table is slightly different. Surveys suggesting that people are seeing up to 71% increases in their grocery bills from this year to last year. And this is a statement where you just trust your bank account over the data that's being presented on the news, right? Because your bank account doesn't lie. You know you're spending more on groceries and on healthcare and on transportation. And I see fuel coming down and eggs are at $1.50 a dozen. But it doesn't really matter when your turkey's $50 and people aren't even looking at Thanksgiving as something to be excited for right now. But there is a silver lining to this. We're all still early. Only 7% of the global population is invested in crypto. At the peak of the 2021 bull market, it was only 4% of the global population that was invested. And I normally wouldn't dive into the comments, but this one makes a lot of really good points. Out of that 7%, 5% got wiped out on October 10th. 95% are sick and tired of it and just wants to hold their Bitcoin or use stable coins. Out of the remaining 93% of the world, fun fact here, most probably prefer to do stocks if they can afford it. At least 50% of that struggling to survive, living paycheck to paycheck, have zero interest in crypto, nor do they have access to it. Does that mean that there's a lot of potential for crypto? Maybe, but not if it's run by crime lords, constant scams, and if we keep auto-destroying this space through degeneracy. He makes some really good points there. A lot of the people that are invested in crypto from a retail standpoint right now are people that have been around for the last 4 or 8 years. Maybe some have been around longer than that, and they're probably just holding onto a cold wallet full of Bitcoin, and they're smart, and they're just going on about their lives. But the space has begun to eat itself. Now, does that mean that we want to see new retail come in so that we can eat them? No, absolutely not. That's not how it works. We're not greedy, right? Some of us are serving God, not money. But I will say that if you're in crypto for the wrong reasons, you're probably going to get the outcomes that you deserve. And the reality is that retail investors are going to come in when the institutions feel that there are better guardrails, the Clarity Act has passed, they've got more investor protections in place, and they can offer better products. What does that mean for people who are already here? Some of us have been sitting on a dust bag for the last 4 years, wondering when our Shiba Inu is going to come back around, right? Well, the reality is that some of these coins may come back. They may pump up when ETH starts to pump, things like that. And the other reality is that some of them might not ever return. And if you're still holding on to them, and I'm definitely guilty of this, holding on to plenty of tokens from 2021, it's probably because we didn't take enough profits. And there's also strategies where maybe we left a dust bag, possibly to go to the moon or just as a placeholder for the cycle to return and possibly look back into those tokens. But make no mistake, a time will come where retail will pump back into it. We will not be looking at the figures like we are right now. I'm going to talk about this Solana chart in a moment here because that is where we've seen probably the most damage done in crypto in the last, I'd say, 12 to 18 months. Mainly since the whole pump fund era. But first, I want to show you this. This is all other cryptocurrencies against Bitcoin, with the exception of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, basically representing the rest of the market and retail. 26 million coins that are out there for you to pick and choose from. Some of them are probably dead. I'd probably guess that 90% of them are dead at this point. But the fact is that this trend has been moving downward since the end of the bull run in 2022, early Q1 2022. We've been seeing this trend go down, and it hasn't been broken, right? I've said this in previous videos. Downward trending resistance is meant to be broken, and historically it has done that, right? This isn't financial advice. It's simply informational and educational purposes. But we do see that a historical pattern has repeated itself cycle after cycle, and we could only expect the same thing coming around, right? It's very likely that it'll happen. It's not a guarantee. We're going to jump back into Bitcoin and the rest of these in a moment here after we get a quick update on the markets. But the fact is that there will be a bull run again at some point. Will it be 10 to 25x in altcoins, 250x? Will it only be 2 or 3x? maybe parodying the stock market gains a little bit more, unless you're in inverse Kramer or, Pelosi tracker, which have had over 50% returns for year to date, which is great. But the reality is that things tend to level off. And so where do you go? Well, first things first, let's take a quick look at the overall market cap for cryptocurrency. $3.42 trillion. Obviously, we see that trend kind of ticking down just a little bit. Shows that we do have a little bit of support holding down there. Not exactly a candle chart to show that on, but again, we'll talk about Bitcoin in a moment here. Fear and greed index is up at a 25. We're still in fear, but we're coming back up from that 19 or 20 that we had in extreme fear. Altcoin season index is at a 27, and altcoin market cap is at $1.39 trillion, which has been chopping sideways. And we are in chop. It's not just Choptober, but now it's Chopvember, it looks like. But it's only the 8th of November at the time of the recording of this video. It's still early on in the month. We're still in the middle of a government shutdown. We have a Clarity Act that needs to be passed. We have ISO 222 coming out at the end of this month. That's global. That doesn't matter if the government's shut down. The banks have to do that no matter what. That could be a catalyst, right? I think that the technology is bar none the best that's out there. It's a shift. It's a global shift in financial technologies that we're seeing in our lifetime, which is great. What a time to be alive. But at the same time, is it going to impact the price? And maybe it will, maybe it won't. ETFs, that's a little bit different. We tend to see inflows, and inflows tend to bring price action with them. So we could only hope that that's what we'll see. But before we get there, we've got to figure out if we're going to go a little bit lower first, if we're going to pump, or if we're going to continue to chop sideways. We ran up, had a little bit of a run up yesterday and a continued downtrend after that. It almost seemed like a little bit of a fake out. There was a lot of Trump meeting news and rumors and stuff like that coming out, and it seems like crypto had a little bit of a Friday rally before moving into the weekend. You know how I know retail's not here? The weekends are dead. In 2021, the weekends were absolutely crazy. It was all retail. People worked all week. They got their paycheck on Friday, and crypto blew up on Saturdays and Sundays. Absolutely wash, rinse, repeat. Mondays would open lower. Then you start to see the hype through the rest of the week. Again, Friday paychecks come around, and people are FOMOing right back in. And that is not a good investment strategy by any means, to FOMO into anything. Trust the charts, trust the data, follow the data. And when we look at Bitcoin, we see that yesterday we ran up to about 104, 105,000, depending on the exchange that you were on. And it does look like we've rounded out about the bottom there on the daily candles and tapped off of support again. This is in that $98,000 to $100,000 area of support. A green bar here, aqua colored bar. If you guys are looking at this video, watching it, for those of you who are listening, I'm talking about tapping off of $98,000, $99,000. That's a really strong area of support. That's the bottom that I think is in personally. And I think that we'll chop before we move to the upside. Should we drop below that, $87,000, $88,000 is not out of the realm of possibilities. I think we've got a little bit more support before that. There were CME gaps that they don't always have to get filled that we're down below that, but we've got gaps above too, right? We might be making a run up to those gaps, and we'll talk about that when we start to see a bullish divergence on that. Just looking at the wolf pack here, I'll shrink this one down so I can get this back in view. We're still bullish on the daily Wolfpack indicator for Bitcoin. We are bullish on most of them, but then again, that's tracking an 1100 EMA crossing over 50 EMAs, right? When it crosses over in one direction versus the other, it signifies bullish or bearish divergences, and in this case we are still bullish. It doesn't take much. I think go back to the 4 hour, we're probably going to see bearish on there, but it's just a little flash. It's really been moving kind of smoothly sideways again, and you can see that perfectly on the 4 hour for Bitcoin, chopping between 100,000 and 104,000, where it's been doing this all the way back since the 4th of November on the 4 hour candles. I don't think that we've got much lower downside to go, but this is not a price prediction. This is just me on my charts looking at a market trend prediction, and I think that we're going to chop and eventually break out to the upside. Ethereum is another one that I keep a really good eye on when it comes to retail sentiment, right? A lot of retail is on ETH, and so we've got to look at that. We've got to get back above $3,700 on ETH before we can really confirm. That's that 50 EMA right there, before we can confirm flip it into support, that we are, again, bullish on that. 4 hours showing bearish on the wolf pack. The daily is probably still going to end up showing bullish, and it is. So, guys, I want to talk about Solana really quick. This is an area of concern for a lot of people, right? Solana is the ecosystem that brought a lot of people into crypto starting around end of 2023. I'd say early 2024 is where it really started to rear its head. And you started to see all the pump fund stuff coming up, and just the debauchery is just absolutely uncalled for. That's not how this space should ever be represented, but it is what it is. And the question is do we have more downside risk on Solana? We see a partnership with Western Union. We know that that's paid marketing, it's paid advertisement. Good play on Sol's part. They probably needed it, right? But at the end of the day, just looking at the charts, taking out all the news and the rumors, it does look like we're holding support fairly well between $149, $152, right? We're at $159 at the time of this recording. It's a very small candle. This is daily candles here. The question is, if we fall to the next level down of support, where are we going to go? And that's why I put up some indicators for myself, just patterns that I'm watching here. And, you know, we've got a very weak area of support around $140, $143. If we start to go back a little further than that, we start to get back into that $125, $129 range. This is an area in and of itself, too, that's not exactly that strong of a level of support. It's going to take us all the way back down into about $100. I think $100 is a good bouncing point. If we break to the downside and we show bearish momentum on Sol, not correlated with the overall market, right? And again, I don't think that that's exactly how things will play out, right? We tend to move with the markets, but we were in a symmetrical triangle, and we all know that when a symmetrical triangle breaks out, a bull flag breaks out, you've got a flagpole, and that was this flagpole. If we were to break out to the upside, we could have potentially seen passing up areas of resistance and breaking through those, a high of about $285. Breaking out to the downside, you know, put that right there, that takes us down into that $95, $96 range. Doesn't mean that we're going to go all the way down there. It just means that there's a potential for it. The reason I'm looking at this is because this is the last shred of retail investors, in my opinion, that are hanging on for dear life. And if there's any hope of bringing that sector back, it's going to take some price action on Sol. And also, it's going to take some trust. I think that the guardrails, the institutional guardrails, the Clarity Act, things like that are really going to help. Let's move into XRP. Let's take a quick look at this one. I'm actually more excited about the price chart on XRP right now than I have been in quite some time. And that is because we're starting to show a little bit of upward trending support on the daily candles here. If we zoom out a little bit, guys, disregard all these other lines. We had symmetrical triangles, disregarding the flash crash on the 10th there. And we're looking to break out of that up or down. And I was keeping an eye on that myself. So those are just my lines that are up there. But when you disregard all that and you just go back to the daily here, we've got a really nice line. I'll throw that up there of upward trending support. And that's good. That's a good indicator that things are holding well. I think there's a lot of exhaustion in XRP, right? We've got a lot of OG holders that just refuse to sell, and that's good, right? It holds the price. But at the end of the day, it's going to take more retail coming in. It's going to take volume and volatility to move this price higher. And I think it's going to take the overall market trend kind of shifting. I don't see anything happening until this government shutdown is over, until these ETFs are launched. And it's not a news and rumor situation. It's just liquidity, right? It's money flowing in is what's going to move this. Upward trending support is great, especially coming off of the $2 support that we've had here. We're starting to move back up. We're meeting resistance at areas that we could expect to, which is around $2.35. I want to see XRP back above $2.74 before I'm really excited to make that claim that we are starting to move to the upside. But we are bullish on the wolf pack for XRP moving into the 4 hour. Move that over there. We've been bearish for all the way back to the end of October. We've been bearish on it, which is actually pretty good because that would indicate that we've got some reversal on that. I think when you look at the RSI, you can see that as well. We're pretty close to the bottom of the oversold on XRP. So where do we go from here? I'm excited to see the day where we start to move back up. But no doubt about it, we are early on cryptocurrency, right? It's 7% of global population is invested in it. It's barely up. It has, it's not even shown exponential growth like it has cycle after cycle yet, which also leads me to believe we haven't seen that bull cycle. And the economy sucks. Just to put it plainly, right? So what do you do to strategize, and what do you do to make the best decisions that you can with your investments? And in my opinion, it's getting into Altcoin Pro University at the link down below. Guys, with the 14-day money-back guarantee, you'd be hard-pressed to not finish most of these classes before asking for your money back if you really felt that you weren't getting your value out of it. Technical analysis essentials right there. Diving into DeFi and ironclad crypto security strategy, all of those and crypto tax mastery are worth their weight in Bitcoin. But you're not going to get in there if you don't click at the link down below and listen to this right now.
If you have 10K or more in crypto, you're literally giving up an extra $300 per month in passive income. You're giving up on a free 3 to 8% additional monthly yield just because it's sitting on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance and you're being lazy. You're taught to hodl, just wait for price appreciation, and this is costing you thousands of dollars. So let's see what happens here. While your assets are sitting there doing absolutely nothing and inflation is kicking your ass. For example, Ethereum didn't do anything over the course of 3 months. XRP didn't do anything over a whole year. And Solana, same thing. It didn't do anything for an even longer period of time while you sat there making no money. And I'm not saying that these are bad investments. It's quite the opposite, actually. But the smartest investors in the world make their crypto work for them to generate additional yield. And why would you not do that? You're holding these crypto assets anyways. It's like buying a rental property and not renting it out. If you hold on to the property because you believe that it's going to appreciate in value over years, why wouldn't you rent it out so someone else can pay your mortgage while you still get the value appreciation? So it makes no sense to just hold your crypto without earning yield on your idle coins. And if you're just holding your crypto on exchanges like Coinbase, your assets aren't safe. In fact, Coinbase was hacked for $400 million and the hackers bribed Coinbase employees so they could access sensitive user information, demanding a $20 million ransom from Coinbase, which the company refused to pay.
I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying no. We are not going to pay your ransom.
And I even received a letter in the mail saying that my information was included in that hack. So I'm speaking from firsthand experience here, not just an article that I read online. So not only are you leaving free money on the table by not earning yield on your idle crypto, but you're also putting yourself at risk of losing it all, getting hacked, or having your account frozen by keeping your crypto on centralized exchanges. Because if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. You already know this, so I don't have to tell you. You can't afford to be lazy with your capital. The US is drowning in nearly $40 trillion in debt. So this is your insurance against the system. To learn how you can earn passive income on your coins every single day while protecting your capital from hacks or scammers, my research team put together a step-by-step tutorial for you to start earning yield on your crypto today. And it takes less than 10 minutes to get set up. All you need to do is go to altcoinpro.com after you're done watching this video, create your account, and click on the Start Here lesson under the classroom, and you'll discover how one liquidity pool is earning our members up to 40% yield on digital assets that they already own. Plus, you can go into the DeFi yield picks and see even more opportunities to earn passive income on your coins safe and predictably with complete control and ownership of your assets. You will make significantly more money by being your own bank. And all you need to do is go to altcoinpro.com to get started right now.